Bless you. Goodness. I'm about to talk about you, Toaster. Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. Welcome to episode 197 of the Love in Stitches podcast. As you can see, I am not in the van today. We are actually back in Dallas. More backstory there in just a second. And we are staying with our friend Eric for the next week. So I have two puppies in my background today. Of course, you can see Toaster's already made himself right at home and he's fallen asleep. And then this is Summer. She is super, super sweet and I am ecstatic that she is in my background right now and wanted to come cuddle up in bed. Everyone is working. Kent is working. Our friend is working. It is a Monday, so I get to have the dogs with me while I do this, and I'm so happy. So if you have joined us here on YouTube in the last couple of years, in the last 2 years, you may not know that we actually used to live in Dallas. So it makes it extra special to come back here, see all of our friends. Kent used to have family that lived here, but his family in Dallas, but now his immediate family has moved out and he has some extended family in like the outskirts of Dallas, and we stayed with them last night. But I'll be talking more about what we've been up to for the past week here very, very soon. So I was in Oklahoma, I think, last week for the podcast. Now I am in Texas. Next week, who knows where we will be. It's an adventure every single week. I have lots to talk about. I've been saying this for the past few podcasts, but I feel like I'm finally getting into the groove of working on projects while on the road. And this week is no exception. Things have been flowing into place even more. And I have finally started my 50 states blanket. So I cannot wait to show you that. Let's get right into it. All right, first things first, I want to talk about my Tessellated Pullover. So this is the Tessellated Pullover by Andrea Mowry. It is the Rhinebeck sweater for the year, although I get confused because then she starts releasing more sweaters all the way up until Rhinebeck, which I guess makes sense. That is her job, to create and release patterns. But I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm still trying to work on this. So I have made some decent progress in the last week. I acquired a lovely new stitch marker here that is shuttle tatted. There we go, now you can see it. It's a shuttle tatted flower that someone gifted to me when we went to a knit night. So I'm really excited. It actually goes great with this project because in the beginning of my spin cycle, there's a lot of similar yellows in there. It's all in my swatch right now and it hasn't shown back up in this skein, but you can see that there's some similar colors there. Camera doesn't really know what to focus on for that, but I think it goes great and I was so excited to throw it into my project right away. So my goal for this week for this project was to complete the portion of the body that is in the round so that I could then start the fronts and the back where you separate for the yoke. So I had a goal of doing, I knew I needed to do somewhere between 3 and 5 inches. I wasn't really sure about how long I wanted to make it. Most of the time with Andrea Mowry's patterns, I need to lengthen them because there's something about her body type as compared to my body type where I just need more length than she does for me to find a flattering cropped fit. And then I found a note in my phone where I had measured a bunch of sweaters. Earlier this year, I went through all of my favorite items, like things that I wear the most. And then I thought, wow, if I have all my favorite things out, I should take some measurements of these garments and see why are they my favorite? Like what about them do they have in common? And I learned that most of them had a 42-inch bust. And so I found, hey, that's a fit that I really like. It's a little bit more relaxed on me. It's about 8 inches of positive ease. So this sweater is falling right into place with that. And then I looked at the length. So I like about 15 inches if it's full length or about 13 inches if it's cropped. And that's from the armhole. So I shared that on my Instagram. And then my friend Brianna, who is the Little Wolf Knits, who is also she's a dyer, but also a pattern designer. She said, you need to consider not just the length from the underarm down, but the actual like total length of the sweater. because not all sweaters start the like underarm part in the same place. Sometimes the underarm is dropped really far down. Sometimes it's really high up. So I took my two numbers. I think I had 5.5 inches like on one side of the armhole that I liked, and 13 inches, and added them together, which is 18.5 inches. And then that is probably pretty close to the total length that I'm going to like to fit me. So that's still a little bit longer than what Andrea had in the pattern. So I think she had 10 inches for the body, and then 8 inches, and this is all for my size. I'm making like the 3rd or 4th size. I have it on my Ravelry project page. But in total, that would be 18 inches. So I decided to add a full inch because I'm still a little skeptical of how this is gonna come together. So right now, what's wrong, you panted? She's so cute. So right now I have 11 inches, and it does say in the pattern that this is going to stretch a little bit. I have not blocked it yet. That's actually why I'm just stopped right here. I ended up meeting that 11-inch mark pre-blocking right when I needed to, like there's a 6-row repeat in the pattern and you're supposed to end on row 3, I think. I need to double check that before I keep going, but that's where I was. So I thought, I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna take a break from it for a few days. I've been really working hard to meet that inch measurement, and I am going to be, at the time when I finished this was a couple days ago, I was like, okay, no, it wasn't, it was on Saturday. Oh, sweetheart. It was on Saturday, which was perfect because that's when I wanted to finish, and now today is Monday. So I thought in a few days, I'm gonna be at a house somewhere stationary with running water and towels, and I will be able to block this thing and let's see if it stretches. Then I can try it on, because in order to block it midway through a project, you got to take it off the needle. So I'm going to put it on rubber, try it on tubing, wet it, do the whole thing with soap and everything, probably in a bathtub or sink here. And then I'm going to let it dry for a few days, and then I'm going to see where we're at. I'm going to try it on. I don't know exactly what I need to do to figure out like where's the armhole going to be on a bottom-up sweater. I feel like that's a little bit tricky, but I'm going to do my best, and I feel like it's not going to be too bad. I'm also interested to see proportionally what this looks like with a really long ribbing. So the ribbing is 3 inches long. So in total, the sweater could be a good length, but it might look weird proportionally if the ribbing isn't hitting me at a spot that I feel is flattering. Hello. Can you go lay down? Do you want to get down? Do you want to leave? Okay. Goodbye. Uh-oh, be careful. Come back up here. She's not like Toaster, where she just, Toaster just chills the entire time. She's coming in between the tripod right now, so I'm a little ready to catch things. Anyway, that's where I'm at with this project. I'm really proud of myself for getting through that goal I had for the week. Now, my goal for this week is to do both the front and the back, and thinking about, okay, I got maybe 3 inches, I would say, maybe, done this week. And that was working really hard. I didn't make that goal until maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, but I'm also not going to be able to start knitting on this until maybe Wednesday or Thursday because of blocking it, but it's an important step and it's worth it. So I am fully aware that I'm definitely not, I just need to say that, I'm definitely not going to get the front and back done this week, but maybe I can do it over 2 weeks. And because I have a buffer in my plan is to finish the sweater by the end of September. I actually have 1 more week to actually do it, my buffer week. So it's looking like I will need that first week of October to actually get it finished. And then I'll be able to be done before the West Knits MCAL. That is the goal. All right, not much else to say about that. All of the yarns and everything you can find in the Ravelry project page below with the colorways. I have already gotten into the second one of my main colors, but I am looking like I'm going to be into my second spin cycle here very soon. I did bring it with me. It's in the van. I just need to wind it. So then I'm going to have to kind of figure out what I want to do because we're splitting off here. So I definitely want to, and I think it's written this way in the pattern, continue this skein for the front, because that I want to look as the most seamless, right? The most continuous. And then I'll have to add in a new skein for the back. that's fine. I'll try to find a good part, like good spot in the skein that looks pretty continuous. And then I'm not sure what to do for the sleeves. So I would be really curious to hear any of you who are making this sweater, how you manage the sleeves. Because the thing is there's been almost no repeat in my skein here. It looks like we're going to come back into these blues, but my other skein also looks pretty different from this one. It's not exactly the same. And you can see there were blues there down on the bottom. I guess we kind of started with like yellow and gray, and I'm just getting into pinks. So what I did last year was a different sweater, and the spin cycle wasn't used quite as much as it is in this sweater. Is I did not come up with this idea on my own, but somebody in my membership tipped me onto it. I did like 2 repeats on one sleeve, cut the yarn, and then went and did 2 repeats of the pattern on the other sleeve. And I just kept going back and forth. And what that did, because the sleeves are so much smaller than the body, is it pretty much would use up one color every 4 repeats. So I could get the same color here, and then it would switch. I guess I did 2 repeats. I'm trying to think how I did that. I do think I have notes on it. It's the Alpenglow sweater. So I must have done 2, and then I must have done 3, and then 2. Oh, I'm trying to remember. It felt like there was some kind of overlap where you went a little further, but now I cannot remember for the life of me. But that worked really well because the sleeves weren't exactly identical, but they were really close. Instead of, doing one whole sleeve where maybe I go through pinks to blues, and then this other sleeve is like yellows and grays. I don't want that. I want it to be similar. It doesn't have to be exact. So if you have any tips for me, if you're making this, I would absolutely love to hear them. I just realized that the camera was focusing on Toaster because it can see his eye. And so hopefully I'm staying in focus. I always try to look at the lens and not myself here, but I might need to check in on it a little more often. Okay, next up, oh, by the way, I've been using these cute little yarn bowls. I think I showed them in the last podcast, but they are from Prairie Bag Works, and I'm not sure if I showed that. They're from Prairie Bag Works, but I have 2 projects in them right now, and they're these lightweight yarn bowls are really cool. Anyway, I had finished one Shortie sock last week, and I started the second one, and I've done a little bit. I haven't done a ton. It's almost not worth showing, but I'm going to show it anyway because it is progress that I made. The reason I haven't done a ton on it is because I started another pair of socks, and so that one kind of became more of my out and about knitting. All right, there. I got it untangled from the stitch marker. So I had started the cuff. I was almost finished with the cuff last week, and now I believe I'm about ready to start the heel. In fact, I may be ready to start the heel right now because they are pretty short. You can see I've done some increasing for my perfect fit, and this yarn is an exclusive colorway that we did with the Love and Stitches membership and Ruby and Roses. So it's no longer available. My members were the only one with access to it, and it's closed now. So this colorway is not available anymore. I'm so happy to have a beautiful skein of it because it looks so cool. And the reason that I'm doing Shortie socks, one, I like them, but also I wanted to leave myself enough yarn to work a hexagon in my blanket. And at the time I started these, I had no idea how much yarn my hexagons were gonna use. And now I know that I could have made a full pair of socks and it would have been totally fine. So I'm gonna have a ton of this yarn left over. So I might make myself something else. I might do a yarn cozy or a can cozy or something. I don't know, because I really like the colorway and it's fun to just kind of hang on to things. I could also I want to make some more gifts for Christmas. And by more, I mean more than 0, because that's what I've done for the past few years. So I'd like to make some socks for my mother-in-law, my mom, and my brother. And so maybe I will do that for them, just so I can use this a little bit more. So I've got my other ball of yarn, the contrast color that Addie dyed for us, ready to go. So maybe once I finish the first of my other pair of socks, I will come back to these. I've started keeping a project in the front passenger seat of our van There's like an overhead area there that I have a jacket when the air conditioning gets too cold for me because Kent's like blasting it. I've got my sunglasses, and then I decided I'm gonna start stuffing a project up there. I actually have it in my other bag. You know what? We'll just talk about that next because we'll just keep this as a sock segment here. So that pair of socks, I've got notes on my project page of how many rows I'm doing, all of that stuff. Essentially, it's my perfect fit sock with a fish lips kiss heel. This one is also a perfect fit sock, but a lot longer. And perfect fit is the course that I teach you how to measure your leg and your foot. I teach you how to do all of the math so that you can figure out your perfect fit. You do, special stitch counts for your cuff, for your leg, increases before you do the heel. I teach you how to do the fish lips kiss heel. I teach you how to do different kinds of toes, all kinds of stuff in my course. If you're interested, that link is always down below. It's one of the bottom links if you scroll down. So this one's a little bit different because it is a whole lot taller. Let's see. There we go. I didn't probably set myself up with the best light. I actually have overhead light. There's a beautiful skylight in this room. So this color is not showing all of the brightness, but isn't this fun? So this sock yarn is really special. I guess both of these socks are special. So I said the Ruby and Roses one was just for my members. This one is a special colorway that is for everybody. So this yarn, if you haven't seen the video that we put out on Tuesday with Leading Min Fiber Arts, it is Leading Min Fiber Arts Knitty Natty. So this is a color that I actually I didn't dye it myself, but I picked out all the colors to go into it. We did several batches and then we landed on this one. What I wanted was a neutral background with a ton of bright speckles. And I wanted to include, of course, I wanted to include pink, but I also wanted to include their bright yellow, which I think is called Electric Avenue. I have a skein of it that I use in a Stephen West. It's a bright yellow. It's not wanting to show super well, but it's so fun. It almost looks neon. And it's just a fun color. So I wanted to include that. And so what it resulted in is almost this like paley ballet pink background with blues and purples and pinks and bright yellows. And it's so much fun. I could honestly see right now, this is only available as a sock set. And also I'll put a picture in here. It comes with two minis. It comes with a toaster mini, which is a tanny brown color, and a Kentergy mini, which is a blue color because, Kentergy, but Kent's name has a T on it, so Kentergy. We thought that would be a really fun name. So right now you can get this as a sock set. I will put the link down below, but there is a chance, especially if y'all like this colorway, that it will be available beyond the pre-order and on other bases. Because again, I think that would be it would make a really cool sweater, especially with some mohair or suri held with it. I think it would be really fun. You could bring out one of the colors that you liked. I would put probably pink in, or white even would be really pretty, but I'm really liking it. So I wanted to get a sock worked up to just show as a sample in that video. And of course I am loving it. So I am enjoying this sock. I had lots of time to knit on my sock. We did a football game, we did a movie night this weekend, so lots and lots of out and about knitting time. And learning from that previous sock where I made them shorties, I want to put this yarn into my hexagon blanket as well, but I knew that I wouldn't need that much of it. So I was able to plan ahead, make full-size socks. I'm making these for myself, and I should still have plenty of it left for my Hexie. Pardon the quick interruption. I just want to say a big thank you to Proven Skincare for sponsoring today's podcast. So Proven is a 3-step custom skincare system. I've been using it for about 6 months now and really loving how easy it is to use. So here is how it works. So you hop onto Proven's website and you click on their Skin Genome Quiz. This walks you through a few quick questions about your skin and also your environment or other things that you may not think about that contribute to skin issues. So do you want to take care of acne? Do you want to take care of wrinkles? Do you have redness? What is your, do you need SPF? All of this kind of stuff that you may think about or may not think about, you are covered by Proven. Then everything ships right to you and arrives right at your door ready to use. It comes with a facial cleanser, a daytime moisturizer, and a nighttime cream. So I'm logged in and actually looking at my skincare profile right now, all of my special and custom ingredients. Since my issues are mainly acne, my cleanser acts to fight that. It has a little bit of scrub in it. My day cream is really light and it has SPF in it to prevent further UV damage. And my night cream is nice and creamy. It really works to target acne and it's totally helped to reduce my redness. Your custom proven skincare system also adapts with you, so it will change throughout the seasons, and at any time you can go into the website and provide feedback. When I first got my nighttime cream, it wasn't creamy enough. I needed a little more moisture, so I just went in and added that feedback, and on my next one, it came much creamier and suited me so much better. I just love how easy Proven makes it to take care of my skin. And if you would like to do the same, you can simplify your routine by giving your skin exactly what it needs by trying Proven's 3-step skincare system for 50% off using my code Knitty Natty 99. Thanks again to Proven for sponsoring today's podcast. I am super excited to report that I have finally started my hexagon blanket. So this is a blanket that I have been thinking about for as long as we have left New York, I think. I started thinking about it, probably when we were moving out of New York. What do I want to do to commemorate this epic journey that we're taking over the next couple of years? I'm going to be going to so many yarn stores. I'm going to want to buy yarn, and I want to create something that is a memory for me, that's tangible, that I can, work up along the way. And then at the end, I will have something amazing that I can use and just remember all of the good times that we had. So I had some parameters. I wanted to make a blanket because I've been very into blankets this year. I wanted it to be crochet because that would help me work it up. I was thinking like fast enough to do it as I go. I wanted it to be able to incorporate yarns that I bought locally. So I figured what was best for that is fingering weight yarn because that's really easy to find in hand-dyed yarns. And then I just wanted it to be different from my other blankets. And I also wanted to join it as I go. I didn't want to get to the end of this journey and have, over 100 shapes to join together. Like I want to do it as I go. I want it to be in the order that I got things, and I'm so excited that I'm finally starting because I have a backlog of yarns that I need to use up. So let me walk you through the journey of the last week. So I am using a pattern, and I need to see on my computer the exact wording of it. It's a little bit of a long name. Summer Fade Hexie Blanket by Mallory Crawl. That is my basis for the pattern. I did buy the pattern this week. You can get it for free on the blog. But I decided I wanted to also buy the pattern just so I have a nice clean version for myself and then also to support the designer. And I've gone off script a little bit with this hexagon. So when I first started out, I knew I wanted to do some practicing because I feel like with a project that's going to be so big, I didn't want to just start it and hope for the best because I would have been frustrated, right? If I just started it and thought, hey, this is it, I'm excited, I'm starting, and then I had to keep taking things out, I probably would have gotten too frustrated and switched projects entirely. So knowing that about myself, or just I guess having that experience, I just knew that I needed to set aside some time to practice, to plan. It did take still longer than I thought, but I'm so glad that I tinkered with it as long as I did, because I feel like yesterday I finally reached the point that I wanted to be at with this hexagon. So what I did this week, and I don't have every stage of this to show you because with these two colors, I did do a lot of tearing out and retrying. So the first attempt at the Hexie, I had like waviness, like it just wasn't working out right where it wasn't laying flat. And of course I don't need it to be perfectly flat, but the way that it was waving, I would set it in my hand and it would be like a huge bump in it. So I was like, something is not right here. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's the pattern. I don't know if it's my gauge in comparison with the designer's gauge. So I changed some things and I went up a hook size. I'm actually using the hook size that is designated in the pattern. That is rare for me. I usually have to go down a hook size. And then I practiced again, and my second one came out a little better, but it was still doing that ripply wavy thing. So then I started tinkering with the pattern and making some changes and trying some things. So I have changed 2 rows in the pattern, and I've added a 5th row for myself. So I've got notes in my project page now about how I did that. So essentially, this is what I came up with. I finally got this yesterday and I'm so happy with it. So the first 4 rows are all from the pattern. The 3rd and the 4th row I have made changes to. So in the 3rd row, I was getting so much rippling. That's where I noticed it was starting to happen. So I actually reduced the number of stitches in these clusters. So you can find those notes below. And then on the final row, I was still getting more rippling even after fixing this 3rd row. I'm sorry, on the 4th row, which is the final of the pattern. So I changed the corners, and instead of doing 3 double crochets in each corner, I've changed it to 2. And that helped a lot too. When I was thinking about it, I was trying to remember how I do my granny squares, and I can't remember for certain. I haven't gone back to check this, but I'm pretty sure in my granny squares, I have like 2 double crochets, chain, 2 double crochets, and then 3 double crochets all the way around. And so why not be the same in another shape? So that's what I ended up doing, and it worked out great. And then I added a 5th row. This is not part of the pattern. I wanted these to be bigger. 1, I just wanted them to be bigger so my blanket is bigger overall. And 2, I just thought I wanted to see more of the yarn. I want to see as much of each yarn as possible. So I added a 5th row, and I actually still need to do some measuring and weighing. This is all going to come out because this was just practice, but on my first Hexie, I'm kind of holding on from adding to it yet because I want to take some measurements. I want to weigh it. I want to put all that into my project page notes. It will probably be there by the time this episode comes out, but as of today, I did my first Hexie, so it's not there right now, so I can't tell you exactly. But I do know that before I added the 5th round, it was 4 inches across, and so now I'm guessing it's about 5 inches across. And I really like how it looks. So after that, well, actually kind of in between, I practiced joining the hexagons, and the first join that I did looked terrible. It's kind of tricky. I always find joining a little bit tricky because there's something about the way you have to hold your working yarn that's like the opposite of when you're crocheting. It just feels really, really weird. And the way that this is joined is that you join it, okay, actually you can see this really well in this. You join it while you're doing the final round. So you can actually see now, this is what the Hexie is supposed to look like, although I did make changes. This is the size that it's supposed to be. And this is how it ends up looking with my final round. So you can see I started to do a final round. I would then continue around here, but there was no reason to do that as this is all going to come out. But when I practiced the second time and I joined here, I think it looks so much better. So you can see that it's kind of twisty looking and textured looking. That is intentional. That's the way it's supposed to be. There's a really great video on how to join these hexagons from the designer on the blog. And she calls it like a braided look. So that's what it looks like. It's kind of got a raised edge. It's actually smoother in the back, which is interesting. I kind of like that too, but I'm excited to see what the blanket looks like this. I still need to figure out a little bit like how exactly everything comes together. So let's just pretend this was my first hexagon. I'm pretty sure this would be like the bottom corner. You can join them, I think, going across or up and down, but I'm going to do mine from the corner out. I think I'll have more control that way. I don't know exactly how many yarns I'm going to end up with. And so I don't know exactly how big it's going to be. I kind of have a goal. Well, actually I need to redo my math now that my Hexies are bigger, but when I did the math for 4-inch Hexies, I think I was somewhere around 120. I know it was somewhere like I would need 2.4 Hexies per state or 2.4 yarns per state. So, you know, some states I am only getting 1 skein of yarn. Some states I'm getting 3 or 4. So it just depends. And I can repeat colors, of course, but I kind of feel like I'm not going to need to because I have already got a lot of yarn to go. So anyway, I need to redo all the math and figure it out, but I think I'll have more control if I start from the corner and go out. When we're like around halfway through our journey, so state 25 because there's 50 states, maybe then I can kind of see where I'm at and start coming back in. So when you go corner to corner, you go out until it's the length and width. Actually, now that I'm thinking about this, that might not work. I need to rethink this a little bit because I do want it to be rectangular. So I guess that wouldn't be a problem. I think I can like stop adding width and keep adding height. Yeah, I just have to figure all of that out. And that's a little bit harder for me to visualize because I've just never done anything like that before. So I'm gonna be playing with it. But I felt so good. I did all this yesterday and I was ready to start my first Hexie, but I decided to just pause and let it soak in, let myself think about anything if I was truly ready. And then this morning I woke up and I'm like, I am ready to go. So let me set that to the side. Oh, see? Here's one of those baskets, Prairie Bag Works, right? Was that the right name? Yes, Prairie Bag Works. So this morning, I got up and I got my first skein of yarn that I bought for this blanket, which was back in August, the second week of August, I think, when we went on the Great Tennessee Yarn Tour. So this yarn, oh dear, I don't think I have the label for it. Do I? Yay, I do. Okay. So my other plan is I started a highlight on Instagram. So I've been posting these yarns as I've been getting them, except for Tennessee and Indiana because I forgot to take a picture, but I'm gonna add them in. So my plan is when I buy the yarns, I'm taking a picture, I'm putting them on a highlight on my Instagram stories. Then when I use the yarn, I am taking a picture of the Hexie and putting it in another Instagram highlight story for the blanket and like adding the info from the yarn in the store and everything. Once I get caught back up with all of the yarns I've already purchased, then I'll be able to much more easily do it as I go. And I'm fully planning on timing like how long it takes to make a Hexie and join it and all that stuff. This is the only one that will be by itself. Everything else will be work the 4 rounds and then join as I do the 5th round. So there wasn't any reason for me to time this one, but I would say it took me 30 to 45 minutes. So they really don't take too long, which is perfect. But this yarn is gorgeous. It felt so good to work with too. It is from Just a Girl and Her Dog, and the colorway is called Plum Island. So we got this at Clinch River Yarns or Clinch River Fibers. Now I can't remember exactly what the name of the store was, but in Tennessee. And Just a Girl and Her Dog was there, Robin, and she actually is a part owner of the store, and her dye studio is right above the store. And so it was really cool. She said this was like her, I can't remember if she said it was a colorway that, I don't remember why I got it exactly. It was something special about it, and it was the only one left. So I actually have, this is 150 gram skein, so I have so much of this left. I actually probably have more than 100 grams left because these, when I only did 4 rounds, were weighing like 10 grams. So with the 5th round, I have to see, but I'm thinking they're under 20, which means I could start buying mini skeins instead of full skeins, but those aren't always fully available. So I really am so happy with how it looks. This is my first Hexie. So this one will be the corner, and then I will start adding them. I think that means I will add like 2 and then 3 and then 4, and it will just keep going. Or I guess it would be 2, 3, and then 5, and then start going odd. I can't remember. I'll figure it out. Next week you'll see. So I am really, really pleased with how this is going. I am holding the yarns doubled so that I can get DK weight, and I am using a, what is it? A 4.5 millimeter crochet hook, which is a 7 here in the US. Everything else, hopefully I will have lots and lots of details on my project page as I get things figured out. I am so enthusiastic for this. I have sort of a loose goal of like adding 1 hexagon a day now until I get caught up, because I don't want to go too wild and like try to complete it all in a weekend. Plus I have my other goals with my sweater, etc. But I have a lot of yarn to add into it, and you know what? Let's just get into that next. In the past week, we have been to 4/5 yarn stores. One is more like a craft store, and I didn't get any yarn there, but I did get yarn. Actually, I would say really I went to like 3 yarn stores, and then I went to a dye studio. It was unplanned, which was great. So what was planned, well, kind of, I only planned to go to one store in Oklahoma because we went and filmed there. And then we ended up going to, trying to go to another store in Oklahoma City. And that led to kind of 3 stores. And then we were coming through Amarillo and we went to a store there. Especially in states that have multiple big cities and they're just a big state, it's too hard to go to just one yarn store, right? I want to try everything and see them all. So I have some things to show you, and hint, hint, one of them is a chick that knits because I got to meet Tammy. So let's go in order. First up, we were in Tulsa, Oklahoma to film at Knit Stars. It is a absolutely massive store. It is really, really cool. That video is going to come out in about a month. So be looking for that. Hang on, where's my label here? They had so many yarns to choose from. So when I'm looking for a yarn to purchase for my blanket, I am always looking for something that is locally dyed. So in that state, preferably like close by. And then I'm looking for something that might be a special colorway that represents the store, especially if they have like a store exclusive colorway, or if they have something that represents the state or the store itself. So at Knit Stars, they have their own yarn line. They have many dyers that make special colors for them. So I had endless options to choose from. And instead of going for something that represents like Oklahoma, I just went for a color that I like. So Moondrake is a local dyer in Oklahoma, and I've never used Moondrake before. And you can see that the label even has Knit Stars on it. So this was one of their colorways that was special for the store. This color is called Pulsar. Pulsar, I think is how you say it. I'm not really sure what that means, but it's pretty and it's pink. And I really like it. It's a MCN, which means it's merino, cashmere, and nylon. So I'm excited to put that in. My blanket has, it's all fingering weight, held double to make it DK weight, but it has many different blends. I even have some yarns with bamboo in them, but they all have wool in them. So I am getting over, with this blanket at least, I am letting go of the notion that I will find all of the same yarn base. That's just not going to happen with 50 states. Okay, so after that, we went to Oklahoma City and we wanted to go to a store. Our plan was to go like kind of quickly to a store on our way out. We weren't going to film a YouTube video there, but we have been filming reels at different stores. We just haven't posted any yet. So I'm hoping to get some of those edited this week to start posting. But we plan to go to a chick that knits. And so we kind of drove out of our way, like we backtracked a little bit. So we were backtracking to Edmond, Oklahoma. Is that right? I think it's called Edmond. Yeah, Edmond, Oklahoma, which is just outside of Oklahoma City. And then our plan was to like go to the store and then turn around and like drive to the Texas border because we needed to be in Texas the next day. And so we drive by a chick that knits is in this cute little downtown Edmond area. And we're driving by and we see on the glass of the storefront, retail space for sale. And I was just like, oh no, I had this weird feeling that we should have called because I don't know. I just had this feeling like this store is not going to be open. Like it's going to be gone. It's not going to be there anymore. So I was driving. So I turn at, right at the next light and like pull over and stop. And I'm like, I don't know why. I just had this so I had the feeling the store was going to be closed. And then I was right. So I was like, okay, I have this other feeling that like they're still here. There's like a chance that we might actually still see them. Maybe they just moved locations. So I'm like doing research. I'm like looking on Google and then I scroll down and I'm like, oh, it does say actually that their brick and mortar is closed. They only dye yarn here anymore. So I was really bummed. So I decided to reach out to Tammy, a chick that knits on Instagram, and just send a quick message like, hey, came by, wanted to go to the store and saw that it was closed, but I see you're going to be at DFW Fiberfest. So like looking forward to seeing you there. And then I had this other weird feeling and that like, it would be really cool if Tammy just responded and was like, come to my house where we dye yarn. I don't know why I thought that. Like I'm usually the person who never assumes anything. Like I never assume that anybody in the yarn world is going to give me any special treatment. Like I never assume that. I never assume anyone is going to know who I am or what we're doing, that we're traveling and like highlighting small businesses. So I don't know why I had such a strong feeling about that. And I'm only sharing it because it came true. I wouldn't share it if I thought that and it didn't happen. But anyway, Tammy responded and really quickly. And actually we later found out, I think that it was her, the other woman that dies with her, Rebecca. But they responded and said, oh, so sorry that, the store's not there anymore. But there's a store 15 minutes away and they carry my yarn. And so we were like, yay, I was so excited because I just really wanted to get more Oklahoma yarn. And so I was super excited about that. We ended up going down the street to a yarn store that's brand new. It's only 6 months old, called Christie's. And Christie's carried a chick that knits, but Christie's also had mostly their own yarn line. So we actually met Christy, who is a dyer, and her yarn is beautiful. I have a little video to show you of the store, and later I'll put together a reel and everything. The store was great. It was so bright and so welcoming. If you live in Edmond or the Oklahoma City area, they have knit nights. I think it was on Thursday. Great shop. So we went in there and I was, shopping around, like asking Christy what yarns she felt were special. And I also wanted to get some yarn from a chick that knits. And that's when I must have just finished one of my Hexies and realized I didn't need full skeins. So I actually got some mini skeins. So from a chick that knits, I got, and I'm a little nervous now because since I've made the Hexies bigger, I need to go weigh them, but I'll use these regardless. It doesn't really matter. So this one is called Brambleberry, and this one is called Coffee Break. I was feeling very pinky that day. And then from Christy, I asked her, what color do you have that you just really love? This is their logo right there. And she said she really loves this one. It's called Glacier Bay. And it's really pretty. Super, super pretty. Actually, I'm kind of kicking myself now for not getting a full skein of this one because she had the full skeins. She actually had yarn on like all different weights. It was super, super great. And they have a shop dog, which was really, really fun. So we thought, great. We didn't get to go to a chick that knits, but we did get to go to Christie's and I got some a chick that knits yarn. This is awesome. And that's when Tammy, or maybe Rebecca from a chick that knits, send me another message saying, hey, we're actually just down the street, another 15 minutes away, dyeing yarn if you want to come by the dye studio. And so I showed Kent the message while we were standing in Christie's, and I was like, oh my gosh, we gotta go. We gotta get this yarn and we gotta go because what a cool opportunity to get to go to a dye studio. And I just couldn't believe it because I had said out loud to Kent, wouldn't it be cool if they invited us to come see them? And I am not a person that would assume that. I'm also not very spontaneous. And I had a scheduled Zoom interview with Julianne, who's Twin Stitches Designs, with her membership that night in like an hour. And so I was like, oh my gosh, if we go, we're only gonna have like 20 minutes, but I think it will be worth it. So we pay for our yarn at Christie's, we say bye, we get in the car, we drive to Tammy's house, and they're there like waiting outside, ready to welcome us. They're like, bring Toaster in, come on in. And so we filmed a whole reel with them. That one I'm trying to get out this week before DFW Fiberfest because they were basically showing us like their space, but then also everything they're bringing to DFW, which is super exciting. And so we actually ended up having just enough time to take a video for Instagram, to take some pictures, and then I went and got back in the car and did my Zoom. But just before that, I was riding on such a high. It was so exciting to, from that moment of like not getting to go to a yarn store and being sad to like getting to go to a yarn store and being so happy to then getting to go to a dye studio. And mind you, we were planning to just like go to the yarn store and then drive to Texas. We knew we were gonna have to stop at some point for my event. So anyway, so then I'm parked in Tammy's driveway and I'm doing my event. Toaster and I are in the van. You know, we got air conditioning, we got Wi-Fi, we're all good. And Kent is inside hanging out with Tammy and her husband and Rebecca. And just before I got back in the car to do the Zoom, Rebecca said, hey, you know, there's another store that has a maker's night tonight if you want to come. And again, riding on this high of being so excited for just this whole community, I looked at Kent, I'm like, can we drive to Texas tomorrow? Can we go to this tonight? And he was like, yeah, we can make that work. So I was so excited to, you know, I was doing my Zoom, which was also really amazing. Hi to any of Julianne's Patreon members. Y'all were great. It was so much fun. And then I was like, had something else to look forward to. Instead of driving, you know, late into the night, we were going to get to go to a maker's night. So I was so excited. Before I left though, from A Chick That Knits, they had me come back in and do a little shopping. So Tammy gave me this beautiful pink that of course I love. It's called Bubblegum, and it is a brushed cashmere, which I have never used before. They said it's kind of similar to using a suri or something like that, or maybe like a mohair. You can use it on its own or you can hold it with something, but it's just a little bit different. Like it doesn't have as long of fibers and everything. And of course it feels yummy soft. So I have no idea what I'm going to do with this, but I love it. And then I ended up with a bunch of her minis. So if you're going to DFW Fiberfest, A Chick That Knits has like an entire grid wall of mini skeins. And so she just started plucking them off there and giving them to me. So I'm hoping to make all of these Hexies in my blanket. So there's a bunch of them. There's even some with sparkle. There's different bases in there, all super, super pretty. This one is called Floral Notes. This one is called Paris Gardens. This is Paris. Must be a whole Paris collection. This one is called Carnation, and I almost got this one when we were at Christie's, so I was pretty excited to get that. What is this one called? Oh, this one I don't think has a label, but it's really pretty purple. And then this one is really cool. It's called Canyon, and there was a lot of samples worked up in Canyon. That's really, really nice. So that was incredibly fun. So after that, we did end up going to the Maker's Night. Like I said, I didn't buy any yarn at the other shop, but I will tell you a little bit more about that in the life segment. It was also a really cool shop. And again, if you're in the Edmond area or Oklahoma City, you need to look up the Secret Society for Creative Curiosities. They have yarn. They had some of A Chick That Knits there. They have embroidery. They had just like all kinds of different crafts, and their philosophy is really cool. And then they had this huge space where they had a bunch of people. Actually, somebody, Kelly, that we saw at Christie's, then came to the Maker's Night at Secret Society for Creative Curiosities. So it was so much fun. Okay. Last one here, a few days after that, not a few days, guess must have been the next day, because that was Thursday night, I think. And then Friday, yeah, it must have been Thursday night. And then Friday, we had a long drive after that really fun night. It was totally worth it though. And we were coming through Amarillo, Texas. And we knew we weren't going to be back there. We literally just drove through, but I wanted to stop at the shop there. They were actually telling me about it in Oklahoma City. And it is called Papillon, which means butterfly in French, I believe. And so we went in there, and that is Dawn Barker of Barker Wool. Apparently that is her shop. I don't know if that's true. I didn't ask her that. That's what they were telling me. But I'm pretty sure Dawn does live in Amarillo, because after when I posted this yarn to my story, she's like, wait, were you there? And so we missed each other there. But I did get some Barker Wool, which is local there in Amarillo. And this colorway is called Papillon, which is perfect. I always love when it's a special colorway. So it's got the blues in there from the butterfly mascot logo. and then just a bunch of other fun and pretty colors. So very pleased with my purchases this week. What's funny is when I was on the Zoom interview with Julianne's membership, we were talking about my whole journey last year of eliminating my stash. And it's just funny because looking at what I have now, I have a massive stash again, but it's different this time for me. Like, it feels very different because the yarn I've been purchasing has a plan, and I also don't feel attached to it. Like, once I'm using it, I'm going to be setting aside some of it to use for an additional project that I'm planning, but then that's it. Like, I'm so fine like using the yarn and then letting it go and sharing it with people or using it for prizes or things like that, because these skeins are going to have, I think, 80 grams in them, which is plenty for socks and many other things. Maybe I'll start even pairing some of them together for little kits and things, but it just feels so different. And I know that to some people, it may seem like I'm doing the opposite of what I did last year, but to me, it feels like getting my stash to one skein last year actually prepared me for this year, where I can build a different stash or build a different collection that has a totally different meaning and not feel any guilt about it and feel very different about it. So just feeling very philosophical this week about all of my yarn, and very, very grateful for it too. Let's dive into some questions. We again have some questions about van life, but also some knitting questions. So I'm trying to mix them up just in case the van life stuff is not super interesting to you, but I know that it's still a new part of my life, so I'm excited to share about it, so bear with me for a little bit. The first one is from Lacey. Hello, Natalie. My questions are about Toaster. How does Toaster like traveling? Does he get any special items for his comfort and well-being? Thanks for taking us along on your big adventure. And then we had another question about Toaster, so I'm putting these together. This one says, Natalie, I love watching all of your yarn store tours lately, and it had me thinking, with you giving the tour and Kent filming, where do you keep Toaster while you're filming? Does he stay in the van or go into the store with you, or does he go to a doggy daycare? Thanks. P.S. Toaster is the sweetest. We love seeing him on your weekly episodes. Well, I agree that he is the sweetest. It looks like he's all relaxed now. So starting with the first question, Toaster feels some type of way, I think, about van life. He is getting so much better though. Like, when we first started out, as soon as we started driving, he was shaking, he was panting, he wouldn't sit, he wouldn't lay down, he would just stand there, and he would have to have his head on either my leg or Kent's leg. He kept trying to get under like the steering wheel. It was just, we were having to constantly monitor him, honestly, for the first 2 weeks. In the third week, he started getting a little more used to it. He would maybe pant when we started our first drive for the day, but then throughout the day, he started to relax more. He still wasn't laying down, but he was sitting and he was okay. This week, I feel like he's finally gotten comfortable in the car. He still doesn't like it. He still isn't happy. You can almost tell, he's so expressive. But we finally found how to make him comfortable. And I think just time has helped. So when we start driving, especially since it's hot right now, obviously we have air conditioning in our van, but it's blowing at our level, and we have a really deep cab and he's down on the ground. So we have these fans that we use at night. So we'll bring one of the fans up and I'll clip it to the cup holder on the side door so that it's blowing on him. And I can also keep it plugged in so it stays charged. And then we had his bed basically laying in between us. I'm usually in the passenger seat, Kent's in the driver's seat. So I had it laying in between us straight, and he never wanted to be there. Instead, he wanted to be sitting in my footwell or sitting in between us, but scooched up really close. So I finally went, duh, Natalie, why don't you move the bed? I basically took it from being in between us and put it in front of me. So it's on half of my foot space, but then half in the middle, but going this way instead of this way beside us. I know that's a little hard to visualize because he started to lay down. So he was laying down, but he was laying down on the hard plastic of the floor. So now this week, finally, pretty much as soon as we get into our drive, like 10 minutes in, he will lay down completely. He's no longer panting. He's no longer shaking. He still doesn't want to get in the van when we drive, but he's doing good other than that. When we're parked, he is content. He loves to sit and look out the window. He gets so excited at night when we lay the bed fully down. He is doing really great. We're being really mindful to take him on walks, especially when we're staying at a campground, because usually there's a lot of people with dogs. So it's nice to like take a little walk. Sometimes the campgrounds have dog parks. A lot of times we're intentional to stop at a specific gas station here called Love's that they usually have dog parks. We try to do everything that we can for him because he's just not getting the space. None of us are getting the space and the exercise that we were used to in New York. None of us are getting the space that we were used to living in a house. So we're doing those things. He has stayed at 2 Rovers when we've gone to football games because we're gone for a long time. And he is so excited to go into their houses and to hang out with them. They've had dogs. He's loved that. Last night we were at Kent's sister's house and he was so excited to get out of the car and go in the house. And right now we're staying with a friend for the next week who has Summer that you saw. So he's enthusiastic to be here for sure. So he's doing great. He's doing better. I can't say he loves it, but he's tolerating it. And then while we're in yarn stores, Toaster stays in the van. So our van can run air conditioning while the car is off. So what we do is we get it all set up for him. We have this blackout curtain that we hang between the cab, like the 2 front seats and the back, which helps keep out light. It also helps keep out heat, and it prevents, we put like our backpacks and stuff in front of it so that Toaster can't slip under it and sit up in the front seat where the air conditioning is not running because the car is off. So it keeps everything cool in the back. We set the air conditioning on for him. He's got a whole big bench seat, pillows, blankets, toys, food, water, basically everything he would have if he were in an apartment or a home. And we open one of the windows for him so he can see outside, but keep the other one shut to keep it cool. Not the window, the shade. And he is good. As long as we're not going back and forth too much, he stays settled. We have a temperature monitor in there. It sends alerts to both of our phones if the temperature changes so that we can monitor if it gets too hot, because God forbid, like the air conditioning stops working or something like that, that car would heat up so fast. While it's still really hot outside, and we're talking like 100 degrees during the day, we are being really careful about leaving him in the car for too long. We're constantly checking that temperature monitor, of course, but then also going back to the van at least once an hour to just check on him has been working for us really well. So usually our yarn store tours don't take any longer than 3 hours. So he is pretty content in there. Afterwards, we always like take him out, give him a walk, try to go somewhere where we can sit and eat with him outside. But he's been doing really great with that. When the weather gets cooler, we won't have to be quite as stressed. We're obviously going to still do all of those same things, but it won't be like if the air goes out, you need to be back in 5 minutes, or like he's going to be not well. So that's really scary. I would never let something happen to Toaster that I can prevent. All right, question number 2. This one is from Jessie. What do you listen to when you're driving for long stretches? So we really like Broadway. So we listen to basically one of 3 Broadway musicals right now. We've been listening to, well, we haven't as much on the van trip, but when we were driving to the Great Tennessee Yarn Tour, we were listening to 6. We've been listening to Shucked, and we listen to Beetlejuice still all of the time. That's why our van is named Lydia. We tried listening to an audiobook, and I don't think it was the right one or like the right time. So we only listen to like a chapter of that. Sometimes we listen to podcasts if we really get bored, but honestly, most of the time we listen to music or we're talking. We've done a lot of long road trips together. So the time we're spent driving in the van is not nearly as long as that. So that's usually enough to keep us entertained. There's always something to plan or talk about or do. So that's pretty much all that we listen to. Next question, have you guys started a van life channel? And if so, can you link it? Have you ever thought about doing craft shows or markets? Thanks to you and Kent for all the work you do to keep people inspired. So we haven't started our van life channel. When we do, I will definitely link it. We have been filming videos for it, but everything has just been, you know, a bigger life change than we anticipated. We still want to get our Knitty Natty stuff like down pat before we start the van life channel. So every week we have the best of intentions to edit a couple videos ahead, because we have, right now we have, let's see, we filmed a tour in Missouri, we filmed one in Kansas, we filmed one in Oklahoma, we're filming one in Texas this week. So this week we will have 4 videos ahead of schedule, like 4 weeks ahead of schedule, but it takes a lot of time to edit those, usually like 6 hours of Kent's time, maybe 4 hours of Kent's time, then another hour of my time to watch it, and then another hour for him to go back, and then another hour to post it. So they take a long time, and we have the best of intentions of like getting a couple ahead so that we don't have to feel as stressed every Monday, like getting everything together. But here we are again. We will get it eventually. This week we do have some more time than normal because we're not driving, to sit and work. So cross your fingers for us that we can get a little ahead on those. And then van life channel will be next. Have I ever thought about doing craft shows or markets? I did one once and I don't see myself ever doing it again. I really don't enjoy making the same thing over and over again. I especially don't enjoy, this is gonna sound really bad, I don't enjoy making things for people who don't appreciate it. I mean, I don't know anyone who does, but that's what markets feel like for me, or at least my experience with it. I made all of these things, and that was terrible. You know what? I'm going to back up on saying that, because that's not true. People did appreciate it, but I didn't enjoy making things in yarn that I didn't like, in materials that I wouldn't use for myself, and then making the same thing over and over again. It was kind of fun that first time I did it, and then I had all this leftover product. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And I just realized this wasn't worth it. I didn't make really any money. It was just a lot of work and nerves for something that just wasn't right for me. So maybe that's what I should say. It just isn't the right fit for me. I would so much rather write patterns, do community things, and then continue making the stuff that makes me the happiest. That's where I'm at right now. So I would say with pretty much 99% confidence that shows are not going to be something for me, at least with finished items. Okay, hold on, sip of water. All right. This one is a great one. So I was in Indiana 9 days ago. I had no idea this was going on. That's referring to the Pearl, Indiana yarn crawl. Whenever I travel, I try to find local yarn stores and never have any luck. How do you find them? Okay, this is not going to be the most mind-blowing tip, but I literally go to Google Maps. I open up my Google Maps on my phone, I type in yarn store, and then I see what comes up, and I scroll and I scroll and I scroll, because a lot of times, especially in cities that don't have local yarn stores, oh, the air just went off. That made a big change. I don't know if you can hear it on your end. I don't know if wait, what was I saying? If you're in a city where there's not local yarn stores, you're going to see anything that fits that crafting realm. So you might see Joann's and Michael's, even stuff like sewing that are like sort of adjacent to yarn, but not really. So I just keep scrolling and scrolling until I find something. A lot of times, even if there's not something in that immediate area, maybe it's 30 minutes away, maybe it's a half hour away. If I don't find anything in Google Maps, then I go to just straight up Google, I type in the city and I type in yarn store. Don't put local yarn store. I feel like that confuses it. Like it's going to be local if you type the city. So just do yarn store, yarn shop, whatever. And I have found that to be pretty accurate. Sometimes yarn stores are named something so out of pocket that it doesn't pull up when you type in yarn store. I'm trying to feel like, what was that situation the other day? Oh, like Christie's. It is not named something out of pocket. It was literally called like Christie's Yarn Shop. It was just so new that it didn't come up when I tried to search for it. So sometimes that can happen. But yeah, I just Google. I start with Google Maps, and that has been pretty successful so far. But I am hoping that by doing these yarn store tours and sharing stuff on my Instagram, that will help people connect with places that are close to them, or at least close to them when they travel. So I'm hoping this can be also like a resource and a database for everyone. All right, I think this is the last question. Yes, okay. Hi, Natalie. First, it's so awesome to see you guys getting more and more comfortable on the road. I'm loving living vicariously through your adventure. Now on to my question. I've recently inherited a few unfinished projects that came without a pattern and without knowledge of what hook size was used. Is there a magic trick to figure out what hook to use so I can finish these blankets? Thank you in advance if you're able to answer. And I wish you, Kent and Toaster, safe travels. Thank you so much. So this is cool. You have some projects that are not finished and you are wanting to finish them. I love that. I actually used to do this quite a bit when I worked at Bliss Yarns. I did a lot of projects on commission. I would sew together people's sweaters for them. I would, knit entire stockings, but I also really loved getting something that wasn't finished. Usually it was an older family member that had passed away, and they, the family found the item as they were cleaning things out, and they're just like, oh, I just want this completed, or oh, I need this repaired. So it's always fun. It's such an interesting puzzle, and I think it's really cool that you're taking the time to do it. So good news, sort of. Even if the pattern and hook size came with the blanket, I would say that you can't really rely on that, because the person who was making it using that hook size and then you using that same hook size would probably result in a different gauge, because we're different people. So good news is that you're not as far behind as you would think. Even if you had that information, you would probably still have to play around a little bit to find the right hook size. So it sounds like you're already familiar with reading crochet, because you didn't say anything about figuring out the pattern. So good job, that's awesome. I think the best thing to do for figuring out what hook size to use is to just start working on a small segment of the blanket. So don't do this by going fully across the row. That's going to be wasting your time. What I would do is I would put like a stitch marker or something in the final row of that person, like where that person finished, so that you can know distinctly where that person's work finished and where yours begins. And then I would just start with a guess for your hook size. Look at the yarn, kind of use your knowledge. You clearly have some crochet knowledge if you're ready to just look at the pattern and figure it out, and just start somewhere. And I would do like a small segment. So, work 4 inches across, turn around, work back and forth for a little bit, and then take a look, like visually, is it looking similar? Then maybe get out your measuring tape and measure how many stitches and rows per inch is this person getting? How many am I getting? Do I need to try another hook size? And then just keep repeating the process until you have a similar look. And if it's not exactly perfect, it will be okay. Obviously, you don't want something that goes from this to this, but as long as you can get close, I'm sure it's going to be totally fine. So just a little bit of playing around, and I think you'll find it. All right, thank you so much for your questions. If you do have questions for me, leave them down below with the hashtag question, and I will look forward to answering them in the next podcast. Just a little bit for the new segment here today. So first, the new video this week is from Leading Min Fiber Arts. It is a yarn store tour, but it's a little bit different because we also get a dye studio tour. So it's a combination. And then we get to go into the back, into the dye studio, and actually dye some yarn. So you get to see the process of dyeing that special Knitty Natty colorway. You get to see what all went into it, how I picked the colors. Also, you get to see the first try, the second try, the third try. And if you haven't seen the video yet, I won't spoil it for you which one we pick, but sometimes you gotta go with your gut. So just a reminder that this colorway is the Knitty Natty colorway, and you can purchase it as a sock set right now. So it comes with 100 grams of this yarn on Diva, which is their 75-25, I think. My label is somewhere else right now, but all the information is in that video. And it also comes with a mini called Toaster, that looks a little bit like this, and a mini called Kintergy, which is a lovely blue, picks up the blue. So full sock set, and I'll have the link for it down below. It is a pre-order and it will be open for 1 month, so through October 10th. So you have a limited time, October 10th, 2023, to order that special colorway. That is my colorway I'm so excited about. And all orders will ship by Halloween, by October 31st. They might ship faster than that. I know they do have some ready to go. It just depends on, of course, when you order and how much goes at once. So all the details will be down below with a link. Also, there will be a link to that video. Coming up next week, we have another yarn store tour coming. Obviously, we're gonna have a lot of yarn store tours because we are visiting them, you know, week after week. Actually, this next week is not going to be a yarn store tour. I actually have that incorrect. This one is going to be, I'm just typing in the correct thing. This one is actually going to be an event because we are going to DFW Fiberfest this weekend. So DFW Fiberfest is a whole weekend of classes and a marketplace and everything just outside of Dallas. It's in Irving at the Irving Convention Center. So I'm not going to any classes this time, but I am going to the marketplace. So I will be there on Friday filming at the marketplace. I'm trying to capture as many vendors as we can. There are like almost 100, I think. So there's no way we're going to get to all of them, but we're going to try to show you as many as we can and as many show colorways as we can and all that kind of stuff, and then get that video out on Tuesday for you. And then I'm going on Saturday by myself just for fun. Actually, I think I'm going to be going with my friend Brooke, but I'm not bringing Kit. We're not filming. I'm not technically going to be like working filming on Saturday. I'm going to just have fun. I'm going to shop. I will hope I get to meet people. So that's my plan. I don't have anything official planned as far as meetups. I tried to ask, and honestly, I should have probably tried harder. I should have probably sent another email or something, but basically, if you see me there, just come up and say hi. I would love to meet you, take a picture if you want. I have a small amount of stickers. I need to find where I put them in the van that I will be bringing with me. I need to reorder some before Rhinebeck. So this weekend, DFW Fiberfest, September 14th through the 17th. Also this weekend is the Kansas City Yarn Crawl, and that is September 14th through the 17th as well. It includes 5 stores. Some of them you're going to see videos of coming up, but it won't be till after the yarn crawl. So if you're in the Kansas City area, definitely look that one up. It's very well organized, so it's easy to find the info on that. I think that is it for this week. I have links to all of those events, and as well as the video and the special yarn from Leading Wind Fiber Arts down below. This week, it's so much easier to share with you what we've been doing because only a week has gone by instead of 2. I cannot let 2 more weeks go by because just too much stuff happens, and then I can't share it in as much detail, which just isn't as fun. So we started out last week in Oklahoma. I believe that's where we were, outside of Tulsa. We were at the campground staying there. Now we are in Dallas, Texas, so let me connect the dots for what has happened in between. So on Tuesday morning, we woke up and we went to Knit Stars. I already talked a little bit about that, so I'm gonna kind of skip around to more life-related stuff here. But after we filmed with Knit Stars, we started out, I guess that was Tuesday. On Wednesday, we started our Route 66 drive in Oklahoma. So we are taking Route 66. We started in Chicago and we're going all the way to LA, but we're branching off, like, you know, to do different yarn stores and other things in between then. So obviously now in Dallas, we're not on Route 66 anymore, but we will be driving back up to it next week and continuing our way west. So we did, we got beignets from this place called the Boomerang Cafe. Honestly, they were a little different than regular beignets, but I liked that because I don't really love beignets. They were so good. I don't know if it was just the moment or they were like hot or I was just hungry or they're just that amazing. But I ate half of them and they were little bites of dough instead of a full big thing. So they weren't quite as messy. Oh my gosh, they were just so good. It was this place called the Boomerang Cafe. And so the beignets were called like beignets, like YAY or something like that. I don't know. It had a cute name. But then it was a Route 66 stop, but then we saw the Boomerang cafes in like 2 other locations. So we were like, wait a second, is this like actually a classic Route 66 thing or not? But it was still fun regardless. The other place we stopped was called Pops. It's a soda place. I have a picture of this big soda can that they have, or a bottle of soda with a straw. It doesn't look that cool during the day, but apparently at night it lights up neon and looks really, really cool. We just did not get the chance to go at night. I'm sorry, Kent, that's kind of my fault because I was way too tired to drive that far that night. Bless you. Goodness. I'm about to talk about you, Toaster. What day was it? I think it must have been Wednesday? I can't remember. I can't keep my days straight, but one day last week, maybe it was Thursday. Yeah, it was Thursday actually, because Thursday was like the best day ever. It's when we had the knitting store mishap that led to 3 more knitting stores. But that morning we actually started out in Oklahoma City and we went to a place called Bar K. So B-A-R-K. But a space in between. So it's like Bark. It's this epic dog park. They have them in Kansas City and St. Louis as well. And they're really, really cool. So you can be like a member and it's cheaper, but we were just going for the day. So it costs $10. You go in and they give your dog a name tag that has its name and your phone number, because all around there's indoor and outdoor space. There are dog handlers that are there to just kind of keep an eye on things. So you don't have to be directly with your dog. You cannot leave, obviously. And most people are kind of following their dog around. But if your dog is like running around crazy and being, playing and everything, you don't have to stress because there are people there that are watching the dogs, which is so, so cool. So we get there and we're outside and Toaster's kind of playing. He's not like the best playing kind of dog, but he did enjoy being there. And then they also have a bar, Bar K. They have, beers. They actually had several bars, 1 outdoors, 1 inside, 2 outdoors and 1 inside. It was daytime, so it wasn't super crowded. So we went over to the bar that serves food and we got some food for ourselves, some like fries loaded with stuff and some water because it's super hot. And then we got Toaster a flight of food. So we had chicken risotto and meatballs. I think it was like turkey meatballs and peanut butter cookies. And then it was a beer in this little glass and it was really like beef broth or something. He loved all of it except for the beer he didn't really like, but it was so cute. So we had so much fun doing that with Toaster. Made us feel a little better about everything that we put him through doing van life. And it's also his birthday. Is my mic on? Okay, sorry, I had to check that. It's also his birthday it was his birthday on Saturday. So we kind of felt like, oh, it's Toaster's birthday. We're going to go celebrate. But the reason we went to that place is because we were driving by on the interstate and we just happened to see it. And we saw it in the evening when there was a bunch of people there with their dogs after work. So that was really, really fun. We stayed in Oklahoma that day. That's when we went to A Chick That Knits. And then I already shared with you that A Chick That Knits was closed, but then we went to Christie's, but then we went to Tammy, who's A Chick That Knits house. And that's when we met Rebecca, who dies with Tammy. And Rebecca invited us to the Secret Society of Creative Curiosities. And so we went to I'm calling it a third store that day, because we went to a yarn store and then we went to a dyer's house. I'm counting that as a store. And then we went to this place, which is really cool. So we also filmed there. I have a reel I need to edit and get out for that. But basically their whole philosophy. So we walk into this place and I see right away somebody that I know. And I'm like, wait, what the heck? And it is Mitsuko, the owner and the person who created it. And I actually met Mitsuko in March at the Hill Country Weavers Retreat. And we were meeting for the first time then, and she was kind of telling me like her idea for the space. And I honestly was a little confused. Like I didn't really understand it because my brain is so literal and all I know is like a yarn store, right? And so she's like sharing with me that she wants this creative space where there's like art and other things. And I'm like, okay, that sounds really, really cool. Maybe one day I'll get to see it. But I didn't know. We didn't have fully this plan then. So it was such a shock and so exciting when I walked in and I saw Mitsuko and I was like, oh my gosh, this is your space. This is what you were telling me about. And like, it's here now and it's realized. And that's so, so cool. So it was really fun. It was cool to see Mitsuko again. It was fun to get to hang out and just meet other knitters and crocheters. I think I was one of 3 people knitting. There was more people crocheting. There was somebody tatting. I think they have people doing all sorts of things there at their Maker's Night, which is why they call them a Maker's Night, not a Knit Night. So everyone knows that they are welcome. So again, if you're in Edmond, Oklahoma, or the Oklahoma City area, definitely check out The Secret Society for Creative Curiosities, and also Christie's, because that was just a great shop. So after that, we hung out in downtown Edmond with Rebecca of A Chick That Knits, and we went and we got some beer and we got some pizza, and we ended up, it was late at that point because I think we stayed at the Knit Night till 9. So we ended up kind of still eating our pizza and drinking our beer when the beer place was closing. So we just went and sat outside and we just chatted for a while, and it was just the coolest end to the night. When I was thinking about like what I wanted to get out of traveling, it was like this day. It was the spontaneity, the getting to connect with people, the getting to find new friends, because we were able to have the time to like be there and pause whatever our trajectory we were on to drive to Texas that night and like get to hang out with people and get to meet more people and get to see somebody I'd met before. It was such a cool night. I honestly think I'm still riding the high of everything that happened that night. And it was just super, super fun. So thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Rebecca, honestly, for making that whole night happen. It was so fun. Okay, the next day we did finally start our drives from Oklahoma City to Texas. We stopped at the National Route 66 Museum in Elk City, Oklahoma. That's where I saw this woman that's knitting. She has a crochet blanket in her lap. It was a mannequin. She has a crochet blanket in her lap, but she's knitting and she like lost all of her stitches. So I don't know what happened there. There was also a rocking chair made out of a spinning wheel, which I thought was pretty cool. Then that night we made it all the way to Texas. We stopped in Amarillo at Papillon and got some yarn there. And then we drove to Lubbock. So that was a long day of driving. But the reason we wanted to get to Lubbock is that we had a campground for Friday and Saturday night, because we were going to the football game on Saturday, and Kent found us a drive-in movie. See, this whole past week, I think, is just like what I wanted from van life. The whole knitting night and then this drive-in movie. It was so cool. So we, if you've ever been to a drive-in movie, I've been at least once before, maybe twice, but in a car. You pull in, you get your car kind of set up. There's concessions and food and everything. And then in your car, you turn the radio to a certain frequency, and that's how you get the sound from the movie. So when you're outside, it's just like a big giant movie screen and silence. But when you're in your car, you're able to hear the movie, which is really cool. And for some reason, I don't know why, drive-in movies, at least in my experience, always do double features. So there was an 8:20 movie and a 10:20 movie. So we watched, I think it was called The Beetle or something like that. It was a DC movie, action movie. And then the Meg 2, which I actually enjoyed more, I think, than the DC movie. But they were both kind of funny. So I was knitting for the first movie and my arms were getting kind of tired. And so for the second movie I just watched, ate a ton of popcorn. Oh, anyway, our van, we were able to back in and then open up. We were able to lay our bed down. Our bed's in the back of our van. Open up our 2 big doors to the trunk. So we were able to actually like lay down in our own bed and watch the movie. It was a little hot to start. It was like 90 degrees, but by the time the second movie started, this beautiful wind picked up. If you've ever been in Oklahoma or West Texas, it is like so windy there. I'm so surprised. But anyway, we were able to open up our side windows and get this amazing breeze. We had our air conditioner on for a while, and then we were able to turn that off, and it was just such a cool experience. We had Toaster on his longer leash hooked up to like one of our drawer handles so that he couldn't go anywhere, but he just laid down and enjoyed, and we had the best night. On Saturday, we boarded Toaster again with a rover there in Lubbock. This one had 2 dogs, a Rottweiler and a pug, and Toaster became fast friends with them and absolutely enjoyed his time. But we did that because we were planning to go to the football game that night, and we like to, go around the whole college town that day and, get drinks and all kinds of stuff. And so we don't want to be worrying about Toaster alone in 100-degree, even though the car is air conditioned, 100-degree environment. So we boarded him, then we don't have to stress about him, and it was great. So this game was a special game because Oregon, which is where Kent's brother went to school, and Kent is a really big Oregon fan, they were in town playing Texas Tech. So it was cool because we got to see Oregon, a team that we really like, play. And also we got to go to a new stadium for both of us at Texas Tech. Texas Lubbock is like a true, what I think of like football college town. The stadium was sold out. It was crazy before the game. There's all kinds of bars. Like, it was so fun. But I also started to realize that I am not about the crowded bar life. I knew that about myself already, but there was something about that day that I was like, I need some time to myself. So Ken actually ended up for about an hour kind of doing his own thing. I went to a coffee shop. I brought my Tessellated Pullover. I met my goal. That was so great. I was like, oh, I took time for myself so I could knit, and I met my goal in my body, and I got a coffee, and I got a little quiet time, and then we met up and went to the game. And even though it was like 100 degrees at kickoff, the sun set right behind us. And so we had shade and breeze the entire game. I knitted on my Leading Man Fiber Arts sock the whole game, and Oregon won. So it was such a great night. It was awesome. It was really, really fun. Sunday, which was just yesterday, this brings us up to the current moment. We had a 4-hour drive from Lubbock to just outside of Dallas, where Kent's family lives. And we knew we were on our way here to Dallas itself. So we decided to stop there for a night, get to see Kent's family. We stayed in their driveway. They did invite us in, of course, but we invite us to sleep there, but we decided not to because they have 3 cats and Kent's really allergic to cats. So we just kind of hung out. The cats stayed in a different room so Toaster could come in, which was really nice of them. And we hung out, and we had like cheese and crackers and beer and wine and played games until really late, like 1 a.m. And then this morning we slept outside in our van, got up this morning, got showered, had breakfast with them, hung out for a little bit, drank some coffee, and then here we are in Dallas getting to work. So yeah, we'll be in Dallas for the next week for DFW Fiber Fest to see our friends. We're filming a store tour here, a yarn store tour. And then we will be headed back to West Texas to pick back up where we left off on Route 66. So that is the full circle. So we'll be in Texas. I guess I'll be in Texas again next week when I film the podcast. Not 100% sure. I got to figure that out. As far as what I'm watching and reading, we did see those 2 movies. We're also watching One Piece still on Netflix. And then I'm still reading Book Lovers. I guess I just haven't had as much reading time as I'm used to. I feel like for a while there, I was finishing a book every single week, and I'm no longer doing that. And that's okay. But I'm still enjoying Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and I am almost done. I want to leave you with a nice little tip that may help you if you're having issues changing colors while working in the round, or if you're having issues with a shawl where one side where you're doing like yarn overs or increases is really tight and the other one isn't. This is such a game changer, and it is really simple. Essentially, it is a way to loosen up a beginning of round or a shawl edge or any kind of edge consistently. So every single time, see here where I'm changing my yarns and twisting them and stuff, that can get really, really tight. But the way I keep it nice and stretchy, but not too loose and consistent, is by adding a yarn over and then dropping it on the next round. So we're just going to pretend, actually I am at the beginning of the round. That is interesting. I'm not starting a new color. I also filmed a reel on this. So essentially, you work your first stitch. I don't know if you can see. work your first stitch. See how I have one stitch here on the other side of this marker? Then you do a yarn over and you work your second stitch. So I have an extra stitch here. If you're somebody who can't, has a hard time remembering, you can always add a second marker here. When I go to do the next round, I will drop that yarn over off and it will elongate these two stitches, but in a way that is really even and really consistent and just enough to make it not tight. So the other reason I do this, or the other time I do this, is on shawls. For me, it's like that right-hand side of the shawl always has, it's always tighter, even though it feels like I'm doing the same thing on the other end of the shawl. For some reason, it's just tighter on that side. So if I'm doing an I-cord edge or an increase or whatever I'm doing, I just add an extra yarn over in, and then the next time I come by and pass that, I just drop it and it just elongates the stitch and really, really helps out. So I hope that's a helpful tip for you. I also have a reel on this on Instagram that you can go watch to see it a little bit more close up and a little bit more detail. That's everything for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.